I've seen it before. It turns truth into lies. Oh, but I won't back down. I must stay on this road. I gotta know what I'm about. It goes up and turns back down. We're all looking for the moment when we're getting used to not knowing when all the pieces fall in line. Oh, it goes up and turns back down. Keep searching for signs in my dreams back then. I don't know how to stop, 'cause it brings back the feeling that I
What is going on, everybody? Welcome. So glad that you are here. And hey, to kick things off, I just saw Phil said that the link for YouTube was going to the wrong place. So hey, why not turn this into a marketing lesson? And the marketing lesson's this. So I have a ConvertKit. I pay extra, so you can pay like the pro level, and I forget how much it is if you have ConvertKit. You can actually change a bad link from an email you already sent. So I'm going to attempt to actually do that right now because I don't know why the link sent you guys to the wrong place. So I just want to confirm that I have the right link, and then we will get started today. So let me get into the email. And let's see here. So bear with me 1 second, because here's what'll happen, okay? Through the magic, I don't even know how this works. Through the magic of technology, I can change a link in my ConvertKit account, and it will fix the link from an email I already sent out. Crazy, right? So let's see here. And I know you can't see my screen. I just want to verify that I've got the right link going here. Huh, it looks like it was the right link. So would anybody else let me know? Did the link, if you're on YouTube, did it take you, now it's possible the Facebook link, that's the link. Okay. So I will fix that right now. So it's the Facebook link was not the right link, and I just fixed it. So now anybody who clicks on it will hopefully end up in the right place. All right, always fun. And on top of that, guess what? As we kick things off, and welcome, I see all kinds of people showing up. Here is the crazy thing. I went to my eye doctor this afternoon, and I got my eyes dilated. So for a couple hours, I couldn't even read a text. I had to stop working when I got back because I couldn't look at the computer. And now I've got this ring light on. I've kind of dimmed it down a little bit, but yeah. That's kind of what I'm fighting tonight. But I'm here. It's Friday night, and you guys could be doing a lot of things, but you're here, and I love that. So, hey, let's get into it tonight. And this is going to be a fun topic. I love talking about this topic. And for some people, this is the part of the book that you want to flip ahead to, right? You wanted to get right to, how do I get traffic, leads, and sales? Jonathan, that's what I want to know. But if you don't do the first two things correctly, then you won't be able to really build the right business, right? Awesome. All right, let's say hello to a few people here while we are getting things going. All right, Phil's here. Welcome, Phil. Glad that you're here. Terry's with us, hanging out over on YouTube. Welcome, Terry. Denny is here. Somebody, a Facebook user, because if you're in the Facebook group, it doesn't show me your name unless you click that little link that gives me permission, said that the song feels like the 80s sitcom. Yes, that's because our whole brand, if you see behind me, we have all 80s themes. And on our Market Your Message show every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, I typically will have an 80s shirt on. Tonight, Friday night, I just got a red pullover on. Kept it simple. Brianna's here. Welcome to Brianna. And Jay Rouse. Jess. I've been calling you Jay Rouse. Now I know you are Jess. Jess is here. Sean and Edith. Sean's here. Edith's here. Christy Hobbs in the house. Welcome, Christy. Joanne is here. Welcome, Joanne. Tara's here. So many of you. Thank you, guys. Della and Emery are here again. Welcome back, everybody. Glad that you are here. Oh, it's the Facebook user's Jenny. She goes, I don't know why I'm not showing up. There's a little link somewhere in that. If you're on Facebook group, that's it only does this on Facebook groups. It wants you to give permission to my eCam software so I can see your name. Awesome. Okay, everybody, you guys ready to go? Tonight is about part 3 in the book. Do you have a copy of the book? Let me know in the chat. Has your copy arrived? Have you ordered a copy yet? If you have not, we still have some free copies available. Now, last I checked, and by the way, I just noticed like right before I got on, like sales went crazy today on this book for the free book offer. So I originally decided, you know what? Should I buy 1,000 books? Should I buy 5,000 books? Now this is apart from like Amazon bookstores, whatever. This is just me selling books to you guys. And I was like, I'm just going to buy 1,000. I think 1,000 is probably good. And we'll do this maybe for 3 months, like to the end of the year. And basically what it is I bought the copy of the book. So I bought the book and I just asked for you to pay shipping and handling. And I have a warehouse in Arkansas that will ship it to you. Now right now it's just United States only. But this book goes for $17 in the bookstore. You can actually get it for half that. So $7.95 for shipping. So if you haven't got your book yet, this is what we're using. Now you stick around because you'll learn something. If you're still waiting for your book to come, hey, this is great because you're going to get a little bit of the material before you actually read it, and it's just going to help you comprehend it more. If you've got your book, then I will be referencing it as we go through it. I've got the big teacher edition printed up by your local Office Depot. And I've got some notes and highlights in it, but it's the same page numbers as the book. Awesome. All right. Let's see here. You guys says, I have the book, got it yesterday. Awesome. It's on its way. Tara said, yes, did the 3-step exercises last night. Amazing results. That's awesome. Last night was all about defining your message. And man, it's such a important topic. And I'm so glad that you were able to get some clarity around that. And if any of you are still like, I still don't know, I'm still unsure, what I want you to do is keep moving forward. This whole thing is an iterative process. Every time you come back through, you get a little bit more clarity, and you get a little bit more clarity, and a little bit more clarity, because clarity comes from movement. It does not come from sitting still. It doesn't come from sitting in a rocking chair. It comes from making decisions and moving forward. So you're here on a Friday night hanging out with me, and I want to make sure that we use this time wisely, because I know you could be doing 100 other things, but you chose to hang out with me. So hey, if it's okay with you, let's get started. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody to the Messenger Roadmap Masterclass. This is a 4-part series, a summary and somewhat a deep dive into the book, Your Message Matters, How to Rise Above the Noise and Get Paid for What You Know. And tonight, we are going to be talking about market your message. Now, what this one's all about, this is all about traffic, leads, and sales. So if you've been following along in our training videos, part 1 of the book is all about believing your message. You see, as a messenger, until you believe that you have a gift and that you have something to share with the world, even if you don't know what it is yet, you've got to start there first. And so we talked about some of those important principles as to why we need to believe our message. Then part 2 was all about defining your message. And we talked about the importance of igniting your message with 3 elements: purpose, people, and passion. Now tonight, this is where it gets fun, because we're going to start talking about traffic, leads, and sales. How do you find that audience? How do you turn them into customer, or I would say subscribers on an email list? And then how do you turn the subscribers into paying customers? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So part 3, all about marketing your message. So hey, let's just go ahead and jump in. Let's get started. So I'm going to be referencing the book, and I'll give page numbers where I can. And I've got the big teacher edition version here, but the page numbers are just the same if you've got your own copy there at home. So I want to start at chapter 11. So chapter 11 kicks off the part 3 in the book, Market Your Message. And the chapter starts with extraordinary focus leads to success. Now, here's what you're going to hear throughout this entire training video. That in order for you to rise above the noise, you've got to focus. You've got to narrow things down. Here's the thing. We don't suffer from not having options. Do you realize that? That is not our problem. And don't you find it interesting that if you go back just 100 years ago, that the problem people had was not having enough options, right? Think about the Great Depression in the 20s. What were people doing? They were standing in line hoping for a job. Like literally, it's like, I'll do anything. What do I need to do? They suffered from a lack of options. That's not the case for us in this century, right? We suffer from having too many options. And that's what paralyzes us is we like, oh, should I blog? Should I podcast? Should I do YouTube videos? Maybe I should do a membership site. Should I write a book? Maybe I should start an Etsy store. Maybe I should do this thing. Oh, wait, somebody's making money on Amazon. This person's making money just writing Kindle books. And I mean, haven't you been there where you get paralyzed by opportunity? And I don't want that to happen to you. I call it distraction attraction. That's really what it is. And I was there not too long in the distant past. And I remember sitting down and looking at and thinking, why am I not seeing success like these other people that I see are having success? And as I started to observe them more closely, I realized that all of them were doing 4 things really well. And that's when I decided to focus on just doing those 4 things and letting go of everything else. And in fact, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to pick one thing in 4 of these areas. That way, when you approach your work for the week, all you're going to do is focus on 4 things. And in fact, in the back of the book, if you haven't seen this yet, there is an appendix. And I really wanted the publisher to add this to the book, and it's called the Messenger Roadmap. It's all the way back in the appendix. And at the bottom, it's called the Messenger Focusing Habits, and there's 4 there. As you go through this part in the book, at the end of each chapter, I've got an exercise for you, and I am going to encourage you to choose, to make a choice so that you're not paralyzed by too many options. All right? So as we go through this in this training, it's going to become more clear what those choices are. So here's what I did. I created a teaching tool to teach these 4 focusing habits, and they are what I call the Messenger Hourglass Funnel. Now, I want you to picture an hourglass, and in fact, you can find it on page 151. It shows a graphic there that looks similar to the one that you see here. And here's the point. There are lots of things you can do under each of these 4 focusing habits, and we're going to go through these one by one in this training. But here's what I want you to know. I want you to think about an old hourglass funnel. Remember those? And I want you to picture that the top of the hourglass is open and that the grains of sand represent your audience, the people you want to attract to your business. And so we see connect at the top. Connect, think traffic. Those are all the ways that we can reach out and connect with our audience and bring them into our world, but we have to have something to attract them to, right? And that's where the create habit comes into play. At the top of the funnel, we've got to create value. And I see this all the time. This is what I see a lot of marketers trying to skip over this step and go straight for the sales. Can you go straight for the sale and make money? Yes. But my opinion is you gain a customer, you don't gain a long time follower, right? You don't turn them into a fan. And so this is so important. We need to create value. And as we create value like blog post or podcast, live streams or videos or even webinars, as we create value, what we do is we attract people to get on our email list. And that's what the capture habit is. Again, this is a high level overview. We're going to come back to this and we're going to dive into this, each of these four one by one. At the very, very skinny part is capturing, because what are we doing? We're bringing people into our world and we're capturing them on an email list. We want to have an email list. An email list is the lifeblood of your business. And it's so important. I spent an entire chapter on it, why it's important. And I'm going to give you a story in a minute that's going to tell you why it's so important. And then at the bottom of the hourglass is the compile habit. This is where you compile all of your products and services. And those can be books, courses, coaching, membership sites, keynote talks, live events, affiliate programs. And that is how you build a business. We connect them to us. We attract them by creating value, free value, which then encourages them to get on our list. That's the capture. And then we build the relationship with them on the list so that they purchase one of our products, right? And how does this sound? Does this sound more doable? Does this sound, Jonathan, I think I get it now. I understand what it is I'm trying to accomplish. I hope that is true for you. So what we're going to do now is, and before we actually get into the four focusing habits, I want to phrase it in a little bit different way so that you really understand the principle behind why this works. So with that, let's look at this. This is what I call the messenger's value sequence. And I talk about this on page 154 in the book. This is a writer downer. This is something to think about, and this is something that you want to pay attention to. Value comes before trust. Trust comes before attention, and attention comes before profits. So let's look at each of those, all right? Value comes before trust. Think about that, just that one part. You see, when you provide value to somebody, they begin to trust you. They're like, this person knows me. This person understands the struggles I'm having. This person understands the goals I'm trying to accomplish. That's why we create value. That's why we do blog posts or podcasts. That's why we do a live stream, or that's why we put videos over on YouTube, because value creates trust. And then once we have trust, guess what? Trust has to come before attention. And once you've built the trust, you've got their attention, right? Some of you right now that are listening to me, you follow this format. You may have heard me on a podcast. You may have read a blog post at one point. You may have watched a video, watched a live stream, watched a webinar, and in some part, in some way, you began to trust me. And as you begin to build that trust, or I built that trust with you, it started capturing your attention and you wanted to spend more time with me. So what I'm doing, and by showing you this, every single one of you can do. And then guess what? Attention comes before profits. Once you have someone's attention, you don't have to sell. Isn't that interesting? All you have to do is invite. All you have to do is say, would you like to join me? Would you like some advanced training? Here's the next step you can go on the journey with me. And so I wanted to point this out because this is the principle. Value comes before trust, trust comes before attention, and attention comes before profits. All right, with that, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to flip over to chapter 12. We're going to dive into the first of the four focusing habits, which is create. So create, I have as the subtitle, get your message out to the masses. That's what we want to do. We want to create free value. Now, for a lot of people, they want to skip this step. They want to say, Jonathan, isn't this just a waste of time? Or this doesn't make me money. No, but this is a part of attracting. We have to have something. By the way, and this is important, when it comes to promoting your message, you've only got two options. You either promote yourself or you promote your content. You ever thought about that? Now, I don't know if you're like me. I hate promoting myself. Do you hate promoting yourself? Maybe that's what's been holding you back is, Jonathan, I want to coach, I want to speak, I want to write, but I just hate promoting myself. Like that, I don't want to do that. Well, then here's the wonderful, beautiful answer. Stop promoting yourself and start sharing your content. Share your story, share lessons, share practical how-tos, be that guide. And then as you do, it makes it easy to share it. Hey, if you ever have wanted to write a book, here's my 4-step process for writing a book. Hey, if you want to have better relationship with your spouse, here's 4 lessons I've learned in life. Does that make sense? And so this part is so important that we create value. In fact, I want to start off with a story that I actually kicked off this chapter for, because I think it's such a wonderful story. And a lot of people don't know the story. So I'm looking on page 156. One of my favorite novels of all time is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is perhaps one of the most well-known authors of classic literature. But did you know that for years he wrote in obscurity? He spent 3 years writing for the London-based Evening Chronicle for no payment. Now stop. Think about that. Charles Dickens, before he was discovered, would write and actually wrote for 3 years for the local London-based paper and got paid nothing. 3 years. Let's go on. Then one day, to Dickens' surprise, he was approached by a publisher who wanted to compile his writings into a book. The first print run of Pickwick Papers sold just 500 copies, while the last installment sold over 40,000. Theatrical adaptations were appearing even before he finished writing the series. The same was true for related Pickwick merchandise. Songbooks, china figurines, and Pickwick cigars were sought-after commodities. The Pickwick Papers made Charles Dickens the most popular author in the world in 1836. Wow. What's the lesson for us? Here it is. It's on page 157. We all start by creating in obscurity. Have you thought about that? That's how I started. My blog started in obscurity. I published a weekly blog post. Then I decided I was going to start doing 3 times a week. And it was hard to keep up at times. And I felt like I was just writing in obscurity. Every person you admire online once wrote in complete obscurity. They recorded the podcast in obscurity. They created YouTube videos with hardly any views. That's where we all start. So I want that to be an encouragement to you, because we all start by creating in obscurity. Welcome. If no one's paying attention to you just yet, guess what? Charles Dickens wrote for 3 years with no payment and pretty much no feedback. And then opportunity showed up. And here's a lesson I've learned. It's maybe in the book somewhere, but here's the lesson. You need to prepare for opportunity to show up. Because when opportunity does show up, it's too late to prepare. Let me say that again. Prepare for opportunity, because it will come. But when opportunity shows up, it's too late to prepare. Here's the big secret. We often see people and we think, wow, they're like an overnight success. No, the truth is they've been preparing backstage for many years. And now, when opportunity showed up, they were prepared. So that's the lesson I want you to get. All right, with that, let's talk about the only 3 ways to create value online. I want to be really, really practical for you. So here they are. And I start talking about this on page 157. This simplifies it all down. Like, Jonathan, there's so many different things. Nope, there's actually 3. Your audience will either read what you write, hear what you say, or watch what you do. That's it. So as of right now, and who knows what could change in the future, the best ways to attract people are through the written word, which is blogging or article writing, podcasting through audio, and video, which video could encompass both live, like live streaming, and YouTube videos that were pre-recorded. Those are the 3 ways. And so what I want you to be thinking about is which of these 3? That's the decision. If you're going to make a decision for this first habit, I don't want you doing all 3 at once. All right? Don't do all 3 at once. Now, there will come a time where it might be a smart move for you to start repurposing some of your content, but we don't do it all at once. So I'm curious, which one of these is most attractive to you? Is it blogging, podcasting, or video? And in fact, let me show this a little bit different way. And we did a Your Message Matters live virtual event, and I shared this with the attendees. This diagram is not in the book, but I want to give you a little bit of a different picture. So if you remember our influencer voices, writer, teacher, speaker, coach. If you're not sure where to start, I think a good place to potentially start is where the influencer voice that came out on top. Because that's where flow is. That's where your motivations lie. And so if you came out with a writer, maybe you want to think about starting with a blog. If you came out as a teacher, a weekly live stream show would be great for you to start creating content. If you are a speaker, YouTube videos is a great place to start. And if you're a coach, maybe, just maybe, you should think about doing like a weekly interview podcast where you interview people and ask great questions. Now, as you can see, those are the beginner places. But over time, not right away, but in the future, you can repurpose the content you've already created into other formats and reach a wider audience. Now, I talk a little bit more about this in the book in part 4 on living your message, but I just want you to see it right now, that there is a place and a time for you to take the work you've already done, which is much easier, and repurpose it. So let me give you a quick example. I do a weekly live stream show called Market Your Message. And for 1 hour every week, I show up and I teach a topic. Then that video gets edited down to about a 15-minute video, and it becomes our weekly YouTube video. The audio from that video gets stripped out and it becomes the podcast. And guess what else? The actual transcript gets taken out and becomes a blog post that's not even on this screen. But I didn't do it all at once. I did it one at a time. And that's where I'm able to cast a wide net. But listen, I don't want you trying to do all of it. You can. I built my first blog as a full-time business, just blogging. It wasn't until a couple years later that I decided to start getting into podcasting. And it wasn't until a little bit later that I started getting into video and live stream just this past year. So you don't have to do it all, but just know that there are other places you can take your content. So even though you might be feeling like you are creating an obscurity, For example, let's look at the weekly blog post. So in the beginning, I felt like I was writing these articles and I felt like I was just in complete obscurity. Well, guess what? When I started the podcast, I went back to those old blog posts and they became podcasts. I already had my content to just repurpose. You know how much easier it was to launch a weekly podcast when I already had 50, 60, 100 blog posts that I could just turn into podcast? It was so much easier. So I hope that is an encouragement to you. So that's what I want to cover under create. There's a lot more here. There's some content templates and things like that, but that's the big thing. I want you to choose which one are you going to focus on? A blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, or live streaming. There's really 4 options for us messengers when it comes to building an audience online. All right, with that, we're going to go to the next chapter. So flip over with me to page 170. And this is the chapter 13, Capture, the artful exchange of value for email addresses. So if we go back to our Hourglass Funnel, we're going to come back to connect at the end. We started with create. We just covered that. Now we're at this middle section. How do you turn the people who are listening to your podcast, watching your videos, attending your live streams, reading your blog posts, how do you turn them into subscribers? That's what this chapter is all about. We have to build an email list. You say, Jonathan, why is an email list important? Well, I shared a story at the beginning. I want to read it to you right now because this is so important. This is why an email list is critically important. So let me read this. Again, I'm on page 170. Can you tell a story in 6 seconds or less? That was the premise of a once popular social media platform known as Vine. Anybody remember that? You remember Vine? Twitter, known for keeping its messages short, acquired Vine in 2012 as a video-based platform with the same idea of brevity. Users had 6 seconds to tell their story via video. At its peak in 2016, Vine had well over 100 million active users. That much daily activity created an opportunity for many previously unknown creatives. Some of these super users amassed more than 1 million followers. In fact, they became known as Viners. That was like a thing, just like influencers. These people had 1 million people following them for their creative 6-second videos. And they were called Viners. Then the unthinkable happened. Do you guys remember? Without much warning, Twitter killed the platform. Sarah Austin, a writer for Entrepreneur magazine, wrote, quote, almost overnight, Twitter reduced Vine to little more than an archive of the world's shortest, most entertaining video content, leaving its survivors to abide on other platforms. Wow. So what does that mean? Well, let me drive home the point. Millions of followers gone overnight. Some Viners survived because they were already publishing and building a platform on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. But many others lost their fame and influence in an instant. It's a sad tale of what happens when we build our empire on rented land. Who knows if, in the days ahead, the same will happen to influencers on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Now, there's nothing wrong with leveraging these social ponds to attract our ideal audience, but smart messengers are ruthless about one crucial skill: capturing an audience you own. That's what I want you to get here. An email list is an audience you own. It is yours. I even remember this happening for Facebook. Back in the day when Facebook fan pages started, Facebook was just pushing people, start a fan page, start a fan page, start a fan page. And one night, Facebook, without really telling Facebook or fan page owners, they throttled back showing posts to all of your fans to just 15%. And I remember hearing from someone who actually sent me an email. She was literally in tears going, Jonathan, I have over 300,000 fans. And it's been generating so much traffic for me. I've been even making sales from my Facebook post. And overnight, it's like gone. What do I do? And it was sad because, again, it's just another example of don't build your empire on rent and land. Yes, we can leverage them, but we want to leverage them to the point of getting on our email list. So I hope you learned that lesson because that is so important. Your email list is the energy and lifeblood of your business. So with that, let's talk about how to build an email list fast. Number one, who do you want to attract? Number two, where can you find them? And three, what tool will you use to attract them? Now, what I actually talk about is I share a story of my brothers and I when we were younger growing up in Indiana. We lived on a 45-acre campground that had several ponds, and we would go fishing all the time. And in order to catch fish, what do you need? Well, you need to know like what type of fish are you trying to attract, right? Where are you going to find them? And what tool are you going to use to attract them? The same is true for your business. You need to be able to answer these. Now, number one, hopefully you've answered in our last part two, right? We know our egoic label. Number two, where can you find them? We're going to be talking about that actually in the next section on traffic. But number three, what tool will you use to attract them? Now, in the book, I actually cover several different tools that are my favorite. I actually share with you on page 178 my top 9 favorite ways for building an email list. These 9 is what helped me to build my list. But what I want to share with you in this training is my favorite. This is my favorite by far. It's the content upgrade blueprint. We were just talking about content, right? And as you attract people to your blog post, to your podcast, to your videos, to your live streams, all you have to do is offer them a bonus in the beginning and at the end of your content. And every single week, I get new subscribers with this strategy. Now, this is just one of the 9 listed in the book. But essentially, what I do is about 25% of the way in, I say, hey, do you want to know how to find or discover your message? Well, I put together a blueprint. It's a 9-page guide called the Discover Your Message Blueprint. Click here to download now. And then at the very end of the blog post, the podcast, or the video, I do the exact same thing. And you can go listen to my podcast, go watch our YouTube videos, catch our live stream shows, and go look at our blog post. That one simple thing at somewhat the beginning and at the very end, doing that one thing consistently. Think about it. If you have a weekly podcast and you do that for 52 straight weeks, you have 52 hooks in the water to attract your ideal audience. It grows and expands. How cool is that? And this is a simple thing you can add to what you're already creating. So the content upgrade is essential. Use it in your blog post. Use it in your videos. If you want to see examples, then go check it out on our website. You can go look over at bloggingyourpassion.com or even marketyourmessage.com. Listen to the podcast. Go look at our YouTube channel, and you can see exactly how I do this. Very simple, but super effective. So with that, let's move on to the third part, which is compile. This is the third habit. Is this helpful so far? I hope it is. I want you to make decisions. So pick your create, capture, or your create habit, then pick your capture habit. And then now I want you to pick one, at least to start with, a compile habit. Now, compile is where we're going to package our knowledge and experience, and we're going to create something to sell. You're not open for business until you have something to sell. So flip over with me to chapter 14, page 183. This is all about compile habit, which is to package your knowledge into products and services. Now, there is a lot in this chapter. I packed it full of examples, too much to actually teach in this one video. But what I want to do is I want to highlight one particular area and make it super, super practical for you. And so what I want to share is what I have actually over on, and I go through 12 different income streams under teacher, writer, speaker, coach. You can go into those, but what I want to talk about is on page 195, which is the hub and spoke blueprint. So I'm on page 195 in the book, and let me show it to you on the screen. So back in 2015, I wanted to write a book, and this was going to be a self-published book. So the first thing I had to do is figure out, well, what's the message, right? What is the message? What is that main framework? And that's where you got to start, like getting clear on your message. Well, we already did that in part 2. So if you've gotten clear on the specific problem you want to solve, now I want you to think about, and using this example, you don't have to go in this order. This is the order that I went in. What I did and what you see here is in 12 months in 2015, I created 7 income streams around one message, just one message. And now, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing the same hub and spoke model with my new book. Fascinating, huh? So you can do it and then do it again with a new problem, a new challenge. Do this again. You can keep replicating this and create multiple income streams. How exciting is that? But you can't do it all at once. And that's why on page 196 in the book, I actually laid out how I did one thing at a time. So let's look at this on page 196. Month 1, I created the basic outline or success steps for my message. So I got clear on what that was. Month 2 through 4, I wrote the draft of my ebook. Month 5, I released the Kindle version of my book. That was income stream number 1. You can see it here at the top of the graph. So I launched that out. Then, only after I launched the Kindle book, I looked at month 6. I said, okay, now how can I take this Kindle book and repurpose it to make an actual paperback version using Amazon? And guess what? You gotta reach back here. Here's the book. Let me come back full screen for a second. This book right here, I created through Amazon. Here's the cool part if you don't know this. Once you upload your book to Amazon, when someone buys it, Amazon actually creates this book. So it's up for sale as a physical book, but it actually doesn't exist until someone buys it. Amazon prints it, Amazon ships it, and you still get a nice cut of the commissions. How cool is that? So month 6, I took my Kindle book and I decided to make it a physical book through Amazon. All right, let's get back in here. Then month 7, I released the audiobook version on Amazon. And by the way, again, this is through acx.com. And Amazon owns ACX. You can read your actual book chapter by chapter with a podcasting microphone, upload it to Amazon, and sell the audiobook. And the audiobook gets sold in 3 places: on Amazon, on iTunes, and Audible. How cool is that? That was income stream number 3. Now, you technically could say income stream 3, 4, and 5 because it was for sale in 3 places. But for simplicity's sake, let's stay with that. Month 8, I wrote 3 keynote talks from the book. So I literally went through and said, now, which part of these would make a good keynote talk? That way, you know, if I have an opportunity to speak, or there's a chance for me to speak, or if there's no chance for me to speak, I just speak for myself by creating a webinar, right? A webinar is a keynote talk for your own audience that you want to attract. So that was, again, month 8. Month 9, I launched a new membership site based off of the outline of the book. So that was income stream number 5. Month 10, I launched a group coaching program and had people pay me to actually walk them through this book for, I think, 4 to 6 weeks. That was income stream number 6. And then month 12, exactly 1 month later from when I started the whole process, I hosted a live in-person workshop. Now, it was only, I think, 10 people, but those 10 people paid $5,000 to be there for that weekend with me. And guess what I did? I did a deep dive from the book. Can you see the power in this? Isn't it pretty awesome? Now, you don't even have to do all 7. You could say, I just want to do 3, Jonathan. I want to do a Kindle book, a real book, and an audio book. Maybe you want to take it a step further and say, I'm also going to do an online course. The beautiful thing is this is easy to repurpose. Now, it's not, I should say it's simple. It's not always easy. It's simple. It's a simple process. You do have to learn how to do these things, but there's tools today that are even way easier than 2015 when I did it. There's a lot more easier tools today. So that's what I want to cover on Compile. The last thing that we want to tackle tonight is I want to talk about traffic, right? We want to go back up to the top of the funnel. We talked about create, capture, compile. Now let's go back to the top of the funnel and say, how do we attract the people? How do we connect with them? And what I want to do now is I want to go over to Chapter 15, Connect. How to attract your audience to your message. Now, there's a great story. I'm not going to read it in this video, but I want you to make sure you read carefully the story of Joseph Nicoletti. And it's a phenomenal story. He went from just working a corporate job to full-time online, focusing on one of these traffic strategies, just one for a year. It's pretty incredible. But here's what I want you to know. Because when people look at traffic, they get really, really confused. Jonathan, I don't even know how to get website visitors, website traffic. Seems like there's like 88 ways, and I dabble in this, dabble in that. Here's what I want you to know. There's only 3 ways to drive traffic to your site: free, paid, and partner. That's it. And I want to show you some specific examples right now. So let me pull this up. Let's first look at free traffic sources. Now, we talk about this on page 203 is where we start talking about this. And when it comes to free traffic sources, there are 3: search, social, and subscriber. Now, search is the wonderful benefit of blogging. This is where I cut my teeth. This is where I learned to attract an audience, was the old school way of publishing blog posts and people finding you through Google. And people say, Jonathan, is blogging dead today? Absolutely not. Think about this. Every time you go to Google and you put something into Google and you click on a link, where are you? You're on a web page. Well, somebody had to write that page, right? If you're reading on that page, somebody wrote that. Now, the other part of search is obviously YouTube is another example of search. Think about Pinterest. If you're searching over on Pinterest and you click on a recipe that you like, what are you reading? Somebody's blog. We just don't realize it today, but blogging is still very effective. Social, that makes a lot of sense, right? It's where you share your content and attract people back. And you can do that in many different ways. We're not going to go into all of them here tonight, but you can do that through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. All of those can be used to what? Draw people back towards the content we already created. We're not promoting ourselves, we're promoting our content. And then subscriber. This is the beautiful thing of having an email list. Even if your email list is only 50 or 100 people right now, that's still 100 people that you have traffic you can control. You can say, hey, I just recorded this video. Hey, I just uploaded this podcast. Hey, go check out this week's blog post. That's traffic that you can drive. And so if you have 50 or 100 or 25 people and you're not driving them to something you're creating, you need to start doing that because it's an opportunity for you. So that, and by the way, if you're wondering like, why is there a pond here? Because all of this is like going fishing, right? This is the free traffic pond. Let's look at the paid traffic pond. Now, again, I know paid traffic is like an animal. It's like, Jonathan, there's so many ways to run Facebook ads. It's complicated. There's Twitter ads and LinkedIn ads, and there's ads over on Pinterest, Pinterest pins. Okay, here's what I want you to know. All you need to decide is which type of audience are you needing to attract right now. So they are either, and let's think about this in terms of traffic temperature. So think about temperature. You've got cold, lukewarm, warm, and hot. The cold people are the people who aren't aware of you. They're your perfect customer, excuse me, but they are not aware of you at all. Then there's lukewarm, which means they become aware of you. They've clicked on an ad, they've visited your blog, they've watched a YouTube video, but there's nothing beyond that. And then there's warm. Now, warm to me are people who actually have become email subscribers. Did you know you could take your email list, upload it to Facebook, and show an ad just to your email subscribers? You can. And then number 4 is hot. Those are customers, people who've bought from you. You can do the same with your customers. You can take the list of your customers, upload it to Facebook, and show an ad to your most raving fans. And so what you have to think about with paid traffic is, who am I trying to connect to? And then it matters what kind of ad. So let me give you a quick example. For a cold person, I might run an ad sharing a blog post. I just want them to come visit my site. And when they visit my site, there's this little thing called a Facebook pixel, and maybe you've seen this. Have you ever visited somewhere online, then you go over to Facebook, and now you're seeing an ad for that thing? That's called retargeting. So then lukewarm, what's a retargeting ad? A great retargeting ad is like your content upgrade. What's your blueprint, your PDF, your lead magnet? And they give you an email address. Once they give you an email address, they become a subscriber. And then that's who you show your paid products to. See, this is the big mistake people make. They go create an online course, and then they try to show it to a cold audience. And then it doesn't work, and they say, Facebook ads don't work. Because you showed it to the wrong people at the wrong time. You need to work people into the process. So that's all that I want to cover for now on this. You can go in more in depth in the book, but I want to give you the overview and the understanding behind it. We move people from cold to lukewarm to warm to hot. And then finally, the last pond is the partner traffic pond. I love this pond, and this is the story that I kicked off this chapter with, because there are people, your audience might be on somebody else's list right now. And you have an opportunity to build your list quickly by partnering with people. In fact, right now, as we're launching the book, all this week, I have had partners of mine promoting my book. And people are coming into my world for the first time. They're purchasing my book. Some are purchasing my courses. And how did they find out about me? They found out about me because I'm partnering with somebody. Now and there's more, we can go way more in depth in this chapter when you read this chapter, but let me give you the overview. I really think there's 3 types of partner traffic. The first one's guest contributor. This is where you decide to seek out opportunities to write a guest post. There are popular blogs out there and websites who are looking for writers. Now, some of these you can get paid to write. I used to get paid $50, and even one blog I got paid $100 for each blog post that I wrote. But you know what was cool? I was able to leave my tagline back to my blog. So I was getting paid to advertise my blog. Those opportunities exist out there. You can also be a guest on podcasts, right? And people can find out about you and come visit your world. You can also do the same with videos. In fact, just yesterday I was on, and today I was on, the last 2 days, I was on like a live stream video interview about my new book. Those are guest contributors. Number 2 is guest teacher. Now the most popular one is to do a webinar. Now teaching a webinar is not for everyone, but if you're a teacher or a speaker, you really should think about putting together a webinar. And then you approach potential partners about promoting your webinar. And when you do that, they get on your list. This is the strategy that Joseph Nicoletti at the beginning of this chapter used, where he went from 0 to over 30,000 email subscribers in 12 months. He used the guest teacher strategy. And then finally, number 3 is guest host. I love this one too. This is all around a virtual summit. In fact, toward the end of this chapter, I actually share a story. It's all the way on, let's see, where is that? You know what? It may have been in another chapter, now that I'm thinking about it. I tell the story in the book about how a teacher by day held a virtual summit in the evening. In other words, he invited 10 guest speakers that he interviewed. And within 2 weeks, so he ran that virtual summit. It's like a free online conference. And within 2 weeks, he added over 1,500 email subscribers. The last time I did a virtual summit, I was able to get 30 people to interview. So I interviewed them, and then I asked them to share my free conference where they have to give an email address. And guess what? We picked up over 6,500 email addresses in 2 weeks. That's the power of a partner strategy. And again, we go in more detail in the book. The goal here is just to give you an overview. I want to give you an overview of this process. So as we wrap this up, here's what I want you to know. Yes, we covered a lot. And yes, this is in the practical, tactical part of it. But here's what I want you to do. Again, go to the appendix or go to the end of each of these chapters and make your key decision. Just one. What is your one create habit? What is your one capture habit? What is your one compile habit? And what's your one connect habit? Just choose 4 and give yourself at least 90 days with those 4 things and start building your business. Start attracting traffic, leads, and sales. So with that, we're going to conclude this section. I hope this was helpful to you. It gives you an overview of exactly what you need to do to take your message out there, put it out there to the masses, and build your audience. Now, in part 4, we're going to talk about living your message. This is so important. Don't skip this. How do you show up each and every day and actually do the work? Because we talked about a lot here. You might be saying, Jonathan, but what gives me the motivation, or how do I need to show up each day when life is busy? I'm tackling 100 things. That's what we're going to talk about in part 4. Live your message. We'll see you in the next video. All right. So obviously I'm not going anywhere. That was just for the recording. Remember, we're taking this middle part out, and we might be a course that we sell. But all of you, if you're here and you grabbed a copy of the book, you're going to get access to this for free. So what I want to do is I want to take just a couple of minutes, and I know we went a little bit longer on this one, and part of it is there's just a lot to cover. There's so many parts that I didn't even get a chance to really talk about. And I go into more in depth with examples in the book. But I wanted to give you kind of the 20,000 foot view And I hope that now as you go through the book, you can be like, oh, I remember Jonathan talking about this. And oh, yeah, this is a little bit more familiar as we go through this. So what questions do you have? You can share questions or takeaways. I want to hang out just for about 5 or 10 more minutes. And I'm going to scroll back through here and just try to catch up here. All right, give me a second here. People saying they got their book, which is awesome. All right, this is from Della and Emery. Jonathan, I'm writing a book for my family initially and would like a spiral-bound teacher's edition like you. Do you have a preferred software to send the PDF to your local copy source? Yeah, so what I did, this is the reason I did this in the first place was because the publisher said, Jonathan, this is the last proof. We can't make any big changes, but this is your last chance to go through it. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this on the computer. I actually am going to print this thing off. So I actually just took the PDF that I had, and you can actually, for me, I was able to upload it to Office Max. I think Office Max, Office Depot are one and the same now. I don't know what's near you, but I uploaded it to their printing, and it cost me maybe 20 bucks, I think. And I asked them to put a spiral bound on it. And then the next day I went and picked it up. And, you know, that's why I have this, what I call the teacher edition. Because what I did was I was actually able to like go through this and check things off, cross things off, and give like last minute edits. It was just better. I wanted to see what it was like reading it physically. So that's how I have that copy. But yeah, that's how you do it. All right. Lots of great comments. This is like a takeaway. I like the symmetry between the content creation machine slide that you showed tonight and the Messenger product map on page 185 of the book. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, this is from Jess. She goes, I've been seeing deplatforming happening across many marketplaces and social media giants lately with free speech under attack. Bring the point home that you don't control your social accounts. Yeah, so it's this weird thing, right? I mean, on one side, yes, we need to protect our free speech. On the other side, I think another argument, and this is not an argument, this is not political whatsoever, this is something that is the reality, is that we are building, because I used to get mad at Facebook going, you pushed me to like attract all these fans and get them to hit the like button. I attracted the fans, and now you're telling me I have to pay money to now show my ads to the same people I've already attracted. Seems like a gotcha, right? And is that ethical, or is that whole thing, right? But this is part of the reality, to be honest with you. It's their website. It's their platform. Now, that doesn't give them the right to infringe on our personal rights. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is we have to remember that we're still building an empire on rented land. And so, yes, we can leverage these social platforms, but I am still a big fan of putting people on email lists. How did most of you get here right now? Most of you got here. You're watching me right now because I sent an email. So email still works. Will it in the future be something different? Possibly. But I'm going to leverage email to do that future thing whenever I figure out what that is. Right now, do the email list, and for the next foreseeable future. Awesome. Oh, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, I couldn't find it in the moment, but Corey's story is actually on page 217 about how he built, how he added like 1,500 email subscribers doing a virtual summit. Jenny's question: if I were to write an ebook on the same topic as a course or coaching program combo I'm creating, how do I decide what info gets included in the Kindle and what gets saved for the course and coaching program? This is a great question. I'm so glad you're asking this question, Jenny. So here's the easy answer. The book teaches the what. The course sells the how. The book teaches the what. The course sells the how. So, example. This book teaches what to do to rise above the noise. But in my case, the how has more complexity to it. You may have learned some things in this video with some of the graphics and things I did that it would be harder to kind of do it in the book. The other thing is, like doing video, I can do screen sharing. I can show you like how to write a blog post instead of just showing you what to do with a blog post, right? So the book teaches the what. Your coaching programs, your services, your membership site, your online course teaches the how. So what and how. Hope that helps. When you were working the 12-month timeline, were you still doing content creation, blog, social media, etc.? Yes, but here's what I was doing. I was repurposing, because I was self-publishing, I was repurposing by taking a chapter and making it my blog post. And then recording the audio of that blog post as a podcast. And what did that give me an opportunity to do? Say, hey, this is an excerpt of a new book I have coming out. So I was doing it all in synergy. Pretty smart, right? And you can absolutely do that, because when you submit your book to Amazon, all Amazon wants to know is, are you the actual creator of this content? They don't care that it's also on your blog as long as you are the originator of it. And I didn't blog post chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. It was like a little bit of this. This was part of a chapter, maybe not the whole chapter. People will pay for convenience. And so the blog post was just showing them little bits and pieces. Christy says, so thankful. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Linda says, this is just what I needed to know where to go. Even brought tears and put all the scattered info on the web into an actual map to follow. Thank you so much. Linda, that's awesome. So glad that's bringing clarity to you. Again, don't forget about this appendix. We're having a larger PDF, like a bigger PDF made that you'll be able to get access to. But don't forget about the appendix, where you can, as you're going through the book, write down your discoveries so that when you're done, you've got your one-page plan. Awesome. Phil says, loved it. Summer, loved the after party. The Q&A is just as valuable as the training. Oh, super awesome. What's the best delivery system out there that can integrate, email delivery system, integrate with WordPress? My favorite, Mark, is ConvertKit. I'm a big fan of ConvertKit. The reason why, even though MailChimp is free, and you can use MailChimp, I had MailChimp for a while, but ConvertKit was built for creators like us. So like the content upgrade, super simple to use with ConvertKit. The one caveat I would say is if you want to go the Kajabi route, you don't necessarily need ConvertKit. So Kajabi has a built-in email platform that does a lot of what ConvertKit can do. Amy says, so helpful. Thanks for taking your time to do this. You're welcome. Again, like I mentioned last night, my favorite thing to do is to teach. Teacher is my influencer voice strength, and that's what I have to offer. So I said, launch week, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to teach. That's what I enjoy. Sean, takeaway, stay focused. Just one method for delivering content for now. Can always repurpose later. Yes, you can always repurpose later. And you know what that does? That helps you when you're creating an obscurity. It gives you hope and encouragement to know that I'm creating a body of work that I can repurpose, reuse in the future. I'm not just creating it and pinning the hope that somebody's going to read it now and that it's just going to go collect dust on the shelf. It's going to go, you know, it's going to ride the horse into the sunset, never to be looked at again. No, you're clarifying your thinking. You're clarifying your thoughts. And this book right here, this first book, is actually 65% blog post content repurposed and repackaged into a book. So I literally would create the outline and go, oh, wait a minute, I wrote an article on that, threw that into my document, wrote an article on that. And then I was like, okay, I need to clean it up a little bit. I need a story that opens up the chapter. But 65, people ask me, Jonathan, how did you write this book in like 4 or 5 months? I think it was like 3 to 5 months. I wrote this entire 50,000 word book. Well, here's the big secret. 60% of it was repurposed blog content. That's how I did it. Question, 2 parts. I would like to share my statement I worked through yesterday's class to see if you think it needs more work or not. I help realtors overcome the challenges of marketing and technology so they can get more sales in less time with less stress by being an organized teacher. Yeah, and here's the thing. As long as it's meaningful to you and that you really get it, that's what this is for. And I should have said this yesterday, but this is not like what you post on your website as a tagline. This, when you define your message in a single sentence, it can be used in 2 ways. The first way is it's just for you. The second way can be used if someone says, hey, Phil, tell me about what you do. Well, I help realtors overcome the challenges of marketing and technology so they can get more sales. Now, you could even shrink it up a little bit more to like not make that sentence too long when you're sharing that as an elevator pitch. But that's kind of the idea. This is to help us get clarity on who our audience is, how we show up best, and the problem we're trying to solve. But I love that because you got realtors, the problem you're trying to solve, and you're doing it through being an organized teacher. Bam, home run for me, Phil. It's awesome. Summer, you mentioned summits. What's your take on doing giveaways? Seems to be a great way to get traffic. Yeah, giveaways was actually one of my 9 favorite ways in the book. So I do have a section on there in giveaways. And giveaways can also work well with Facebook ads. If you're willing to do a little bit of spend, people love entering contests. The last time now you don't want to let your Facebook ad be like for everybody. It's got to be like really targeted, like a specific audience that you already know what their interests are. But it can be very, very effective. Let's see here. What? I feel like I definitely have a roadmap. Awesome. What if you currently have only emails from personal contacts? What's the best way to start building an email list? Yeah, so this is a great question. The best way would be to reach out to them personally and say, hey, I'm launching a platform, and to kick it off, I've created this guide, this blueprint, this PDF. If you're interested, then click here to check it out. That's one method. So then they click on it, they go to the page where they put their email address in, then you know you officially got them as a subscriber. That's one method. The other method that I've heard other people using, I didn't do this, but it doesn't mean you can't, is to just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm starting a new blog about X, or I'm starting a new podcast about X. Would you be okay or open, would you be open to me adding you to the list to announce when I have new episodes coming out? Is that something you'd be interested in? And so even if you sent that to 100 people and 50 of them replied back and said, yeah, I'd be interested in that, you've picked up 50 people. Does that make sense? That's how I'd approach that. All right, let's do some takeaways. Here's one takeaway. We all start by creating an obscurity and prepare for opportunity. You got that right. Phil, do you like the idea of being a messenger can apply in other ways? I'm thinking I would like to introduce you to realtors as they often want to blog or create content about the process or local happenings, and they become a messenger of another type. Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a couple. I've already kind of got a sense of this. There's kind of been the side of like you're a realtor or you're a counselor or you're a therapist. You still have like this message that you want to share and this audience you want to build. Do these principles work? Yes, they do. The applications might be a little bit different, right? A realtor's not selling an online course and all those things, but some of the create and the capture can absolutely, and even the connect can absolutely apply. The other place that I'm seeing a lot of interest so far in just the 1 week, I'm already have a large magazine that wants me to do a video and a write-up. It's got over 100,000 ministry professionals that it goes out to, is in the Christian realm. Like, Jonathan, how could this message help pastors or people in ministry discover their unique gift and get their message out and live their message? So I'm thinking about doing PDF supplements on how to apply this book to other other side pockets of this. So that will come over time though. Summer, takeaway. Love this section on obscurity. I think we all feel like the world's best kept secret. Listen, Summer, ask my wife. Between us right here, there's been a couple times where I've said, Charity, I'm tired of feeling like the best kept secret. Now that sounds very egotistical, just saying it out loud to you guys. But saying it to your spouse is like, man, I feel like I'm serving, I'm contributing, I'm doing this work. Things just aren't going as fast as I want it to be. I'm tired of being the best kept secret. Well, that's why I say, if you're feeling like that, here's what I want you to know. Prepare. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Because when opportunity shows up, I want you just to step into it because you've already been preparing backstage for a long time. This is a principle I believe. Time and chance happens to us all. Your time's coming. And so just keep preparing. Man, so many questions tonight. You guys, this is Friday night, and I thought, man, the World Series is going on. I probably need to be quick tonight, and you guys have just got the questions. I'm going to try to answer a few more. We're going to wrap this up because we're almost 20 minutes over. A question from Denny. What would be the most economical way to order multiple copies of the book that I could take to my local bookstore for their review and to encourage them to carry it in their stores? Denny, I appreciate that. Here's what we can do. If you reach out to Roxanne at marketyourmessage.com and try to explain some of that to her, and you can also tell her to ask me about it, we can get in touch with, we might be able to give you a contact over at the publisher to ask that question. Because the publisher typically works out arrangements to offer the book at a discount. Also, me as the author, depending on how many copies, I can also get the books at a discount. But just email Roxanne. We'll see maybe what we can do for that. It could be as simple as going to the local bookstore and giving them the contact to my publisher and telling them what the pricing is for them to get it in their bookstore. All right. Linda, true story. This conversation brought me out of that depressed, non-productive mode to new goal creation. Wow, Linda, that's awesome. I hope you are encouraged because I want people to know your message does matter. I doubted it many years ago, and I'm glad I kept going. And just like you might be getting help from me right now, you're going to be giving help to others in the future. So, all right. Let's see. I think I'm reaching the end finally. Here's the last takeaway. I think I see Della and Emery says, you just hit a nerve. My pastor of 30 plus years has so much content that is still relevant. And even when he retires in December 2020, never published. You know, I just went to lunch with my pastor 2 weeks ago. Gave him a copy of the book. And you know what he told me? He was, Jonathan, I've been saying for years that I need to put my content into a book. So once you get done with, the launch stuff, I want you to sit down and help me figure out how to package it into a book. So 100%, I agree with you. All right. Yes, Jess is correct. You can get your local library to buy a copy of the book too. Absolutely. You can go to the library and ask them, and this book is in the library system. So it's the hardcover edition, but that's absolutely a way that you could also help is by getting a copy in the library near you. Originally, my plan was, this was pre-COVID, I was going to encourage my launch team to, on the day of the book launch, to have a, what do they call it? A meetup. To have a meetup at a local bookstore. And then I would push to my audience, hey, where are you located? If you're in Orlando, then Fred has, this address, this location. He's going to be there at 2 o'clock from 2 to 3. Go meet him, take a group picture. Everybody's got their book. And my goal was, what I was going to do is going to force these bookstores to get the book in because people are expecting to purchase that copy in the bookstore. But then we had COVID hit. A good idea. Maybe I'll use it for the next book. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. So here's the thing. Tomorrow, Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do the final part, part 4, all about living your message. And this is the last 3 chapters in the book, and it is powerful. We've got some amazing stories. And I think what I love about this is the heart of the book, right? We just kind of did more of the mind here, right? Come tomorrow, because I think it's going to meet you at a deeper level and help you understand your why and what you're trying to do and how you can best serve people and show up for them. So don't miss it tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll get an email out, but you can also come right back to the YouTube channel or the Facebook page and join us. We'll be live 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Don't miss it. We'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.